Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar topic, Elevate, Educate, and Empower the Tech Forward Classroom. My name is James Collins. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development here at CSBA, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. We will be recording today's webinar, and everyone will receive a link to the recording as well. If you have a question for our panelists, please submit it using the Q&A button, not the chat function. We will go through all your questions at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions after the close of the webinar, you can always email us at csba@csba.org. And at this time, I would like to introduce our presenters for today's discussion, Dr. Rachel Book, Chief Business Development Officer, Lincoln Learning Solutions, and Derek Root, K-12 Business Development Manager, Amazon Web Services. And at this time, I will turn it over to Rachel and Derek.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. Very excited to be here today. And thank you for having both myself and Derek. Derek, thank you for joining me for this. As James mentioned, my name is Dr. Rachel Book. I am the Chief Business Development Officer at Lincoln Learning Solutions. I'm a recovering elementary school teacher who has an extreme passion for providing the best opportunities for students in the classroom. So I'm excited to be here and share some of the interesting things that we have to talk about today. Derek.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rachel. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Derek Root. As James said, I'm the K-12 Business Development Manager here at Amazon Web Services, and I'm here to support our fantastic partner from Lincoln Learning Solutions. And I am also a recovering K-12 CIO in several different districts, and I've been a technologist pretty much my entire career, but I spent about 8 years in the CIO seat, so I have a pretty firm understanding of how technology works in K-12, and I'm super happy to be here with everyone today. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. So as we dive into how to elevate, educate, and empower your tech-forward classrooms, we're going to take a specific look at the current educational challenges in California specifically and their diverse landscape. I want to look at trends that we're witnessing that are related to that technology and their impact on learning. Next slide, please. Awesome. So Derek, I'm going to run through these and then pass it over to you to jump in next. So what we're looking at is providing students with high quality instructional learning materials that meet the California standards and that are responsive to that diverse learning styles that students have. It's extremely important. However, they do come with some challenges. So don't run away from them. We want to talk to you today about embracing them and harnessing them to provide the change that your students deserve. With that being said, we're going to look at 4 different areas. The digital divide, we're going to talk about studies that consistently show that the lack of digital skills is among the most relevant barriers for digital equity. Basic research skills, future readiness of students, everyday professionals in almost every field use some type of technology. So it's really important that we're providing all of our students from the very early grades, ways to utilize technology in their classrooms to prepare them for the future. When we talk about accelerating learning, we want to talk about flexible learning. It's necessary to meet those students where they are in real time, to provide them with content that is relevant and helps them to move forward with their learning. We also have the teachers in the digital age. It's scary. I know. I was coming out of teaching when smart boards were coming in, and I was one of the teachers to embrace them, and it was very resistant from others. So providing teachers with access to the materials, then professional development and time to ensure that they're learning these materials are really important as well. And finally, we're going to discuss the fiscal considerations, and that's really keeping things up to date, right? With state standards, academic information, and the difference with budget constraints throughout the years, and how some of the print materials go out of date, and replacing them and replenishing them can cause a strain on budgetary budgets throughout the years. Derek, anything to add on this slide from your perspective?
Well, I think, Rachel, that a lot of what AWS does in support of our partners building is like budget constraints specifically. Like and I can talk about this a little bit later on if need be, but everything we're doing is to drive down costs. And AWS is constantly trying to push costs down, both for our direct customers, which can be K-12s or Department of Eds, or our partners like Lincoln Learning. And we're constantly pushing that down. And we do it in a bunch of different ways for those of you that aren't super familiar with how the cloud works. And it's in like pay-as-you-go services and only paying for the computing power that you need. And when you're not using that computing power, it turns off so that the costs are kept low at the partner side so that they can pass those cost savings along to customers. The digital age, and I'll talk about this a little bit more too, and how the security of all this works and how we protect the identities of our students and our teachers. That's a huge subject matter. We could do a whole hour on that one, no problem. And then the digital divide as well too is something that I firmly believe in. And one of the reasons I work in cloud technology today is that it's helping level the playing field and take away that digital divide of the haves and the have-nots. So students have access and teachers have access to high quality computing and power and databases and objects in the repository because they're available in the cloud, not because their district was able to afford to build a top-notch data center on site. So we can cover all those things. I don't want to take away from the message too much, but those would be what I would add in to what you've already shared.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. We can go to the next slide, please. So Lincoln Learning Solutions saw a need, right? And we realized that high quality instructional tools, we know what we're really good at. We're really good at curriculum. We know that our internal instruction, our IT team was fabulous. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't thinking in a silo. That's when we reached out to Amazon Web Services and the teams there to help us build what we call the Lincoln Content Bank. It's a high quality instructional tool that provides teachers with an opportunity to provide real-time intervention for specific student acceleration. So this LCB, as we so lovingly call it, elevates the instructional materials provided to teachers that are in line with specific needs in California. It also provides flexible digital instruction materials that are easily tailored to educate each student. And finally, it empowers teachers and students to create their own path for the future. That's where the elevate, educate, and empower comes in our title. So I think it's important to understand that you can search this content bank and it aligns with all of the California state standards. It's also aligned to NGSS. It is aligned to the C3 standards. So when you're searching any of those, you're able to ensure that they're validated content pieces and take the guesswork and the digging into the rabbit hole out of finding content for your students. So this was a huge, very rewarding and fulfilling project for Lincoln Learning Solutions in collaboration with AWS. And I'm really excited to provide just that quick overview of it and hear from Derek what he has to add about that collaboration.
Yeah, well, again, our partners mean everything to us. So the collaboration we do with our partners is just so important to everything we do at AWS. A couple of notes on what goes on under the hood with those things are we sort of operate in what we call a shared responsibility model. And so what AWS provides in this partnership is we provide the cloud, the computing power, the data center power, the cooling, all the things that have to happen to empower our partners to build high quality solutions. And then on top of that, we've got the underlying technologies that allow the search of the content bank to happen. And I think that's a really important thing that distinguishes Lincoln Learning here, that search capability is the same search capability you get from like Amazon Shopping when you go buy things from Amazon, or the underlying Lex technology that's underneath of the Alexa smart assistants, or the same types of technology that power like Netflix on the internet and streaming. So all those things are there to improve the experience of the end user as they're looking through this content bank, and to bringing the appropriate content and the content that is best aligned to the type of standard that you're trying to deliver back to your students. So I think that's all really important, how that comes together in a partnership between Lincoln and AWS. It's just, I can't say enough about how that partnership is so important to us and to our end customers as well.
Thank you, Derek. And we feel the same way. pairing that search capability that Derek just outlined with our content is where the magic happens, right? We're looking at a fourth grade teacher being able to go in and search something for a student who might be struggling with a skill and find content from third grade, second grade, first grade. The beauty behind all of it is none of our content is highlighted in a way that there are balloons and teddy bears for the younger ages. It's really agnostic so that you can really get the skills the student needs to master to accelerate their learning at any level. So we were very diligent and deliberate about the way that we designed the instructional design of all of our learning objects, which we so kindly call our ITs, read its, watch its, play it. So we have games and videos alongside full content delivery in the Lincoln Content Bank for teachers to go in and find specifically for students at their level and what they're looking to master at that time, fully accelerating all of the students in their own pace. Really amazing tool to add in as one of those high quality instructional tools for the classroom. We can hop to the next slide. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So really, this is just kind of an anticipatory set of what we're going to talk about in the next 4 slides. We're going to share some strategies for utilizing that high quality instructional materials within classrooms. And we can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So Derek, I'm going to ask if you want to start off on this one. The digital divide is something you had mentioned earlier. Do you want to go ahead and give us your input on the digital divide?
Well, while I'm not as closely aligned to solving for the digital divide as I was when I had my CIO's hat on, it's still near and dear to my heart. And we've tackled it in several different ways that are maybe unassociated with what Rachel has to share with you today. But again, things like access and connectivity and assuming that everyone is connected at the same level are things that we really can't do. And in California specifically, during the pandemic and beyond now, we and our partners have technologies that are actually sampling the level of access that students have as they're interacting with these different technologies. So a student might be at home working on a homework assignment that's been part of the content bank. We're able to measure the connectivity that student has at home and then provide information back to the district or the COE or whoever it is that we're working with on assuming that or providing that level of connectivity to a student. So that's a big piece on that right off the bat. And that goes right in with the resource accessibility, the cloud being as flexible and reliable as it is. It ensures that teachers and students have access to the resources when they need them. I'm not an education expert. Rachel's your education expert. I am married to a teacher, so I get a lot of it at home every day, but I'll leave you to do the expertise on how to apply this in the actual classroom.
Absolutely, Derek. Thank you for that. So really, Derek hit on some of that right up front. And those partnership initiatives, they're huge. So I don't know how many that are on the webinar and have joined us today have taken the initiative to reach out to local nonprofits or to reach out to some of the tech companies. I know that there were some of the larger cell phone companies that will offer the mobile hotspots and different opportunities to get that connectivity for all students. So I think that's a really great place to start involving the community and the other stakeholders within the school and outside of the school to provide opportunities to eliminate or at least lessen the digital divide for all students. Going into the next thing, this might be one of my favorite things to talk about and something that we do here at Lincoln Learning Solutions with the digital literacy program. So we believe that working with the larger community outside of the school is extremely important. So you have any school that works with and partners with Lincoln Learning Solutions has the opportunity to have training not only for their teachers and professional development for their teachers, but trainings that we can host for parents and the community to start to give them opportunities to learn basic navigation, safety, ethics related to the programs that students are learning or the internet in general. I know there are times where, my mom will ask questions about what my kiddos are doing, and it's really helpful if she were to have some of those opportunities to learn and have that digital literacy that our children and students often have before we do. So it goes beyond students having that digital literacy. It really goes into their support system. It takes a village, so we should educate that village as well. And then resource of accessibility, I think Derek hit that really well. We need to be able to have it at people's fingertips, right? The how-tos, the resources on, oh, I forgot how to log in. It's right there at their fingertips, and their ability to access it has to be available. It also has to be accessible in a way that maybe it's a video and a print material that has a screen reader, things like that, so that all individuals and all stakeholders are able to consume it. Awesome. We are going to jump to the next slide, please. Accelerating learning. So there are so many opportunities to be able to engage students in different ways. I think that this topic is super fun as a recovering elementary school teacher. I think and I believe that the majority of us teachers go into the classroom wanting to make a difference for our students, and utilizing different opportunities to accelerate their learning really provides that sense of accomplishment for educators. So things like high dosage tutoring, what does that mean? It means giving students exactly what they need when they need it in real time, not waiting until the end of the 9 weeks to see where they are, the end of the term to see where they are. It's helping them to accelerate in real time. Expanded learning opportunities. This is kind of one of my favorites, where you're able to put summer programs together, after school, before school clubs. You're able to offer customized learning paths, introduce small groups that are really focused on certain topics and benchmarks to master. So being able to utilize a high quality learning tool like the Lincoln Content Bank, and there are many others, and I'm talking about Lincoln Content Bank because it's near and dear to my heart, and I believe with our standard alignment to all 50 states, it really is something that is accessible and available to all of the schools in California, as well as providing opportunities for the students. But using that Lincoln Content Bank specifically, you're able to search and gather different topics at one time and push to those summer programs after school, so you can find a theme or a topic that you really want to extend the learning outside of the typical classroom. And then I did already mention those customizable learning paths, because I think that we hear all of the buzzwords: individualized, personalized. This really takes it and differentiates what each student is able to learn, or what each student needs to learn at any given time. So the acceleration of learning really can take place when you implement a high impact learning tool. Derek, anything to add on here? It's a real focus on education, so I wasn't sure if you had anything you wanted to add.
No, you're rolling with it. Just keep going, Rachel.
I didn't want to leave you out.
It's all
Awesome.
good. Thank you.
You got it. So that is that's what I have for the accelerated learning at this time. So I think we can bump to the next slide. All right, teachers in a digital age. Well, I touched on this earlier, and I think that the importance of professional development is very, very, very high. You need professional development to keep teachers on the cutting edge of what's happening. The best way to do that is through collaborative networks. So I'm kind of going to roll all of these things together. I don't think any of them stand alone. I don't think we can talk about professional development without talking about collaborative networks, without talking about ready to use resources. So in our case, ready to use resources is our help center at Lincoln Learning Solutions. We have a very robust knowledge base that teachers can go to and have immediate access to utilizing how-tos on our content, and some that are just general on teaching and implementation of those high-quality instructional materials in a classroom. So professional development is going to provide our teachers with the most relevant and upcoming ways to implement those high quality instructional materials. The collaborative networks are going to take that one step further and really foster a supportive community where those educators can share their insights, their resources, their best practices. They kind of build a little team, right? Where they're ultimately enhancing that collective teaching. I think that there are opportunities where our teachers can connect with one another in the district and beyond are really the best opportunities. They can grow, share ideas, and truly, when you put a lot of teachers together, the possibilities become endless. They're cheering one another on, they're providing support, because sometimes it gets super frustrating. And I know I'm not alone, and more on the tech side than the teaching side for me, it gets super frustrating. So when something's not working right, having that little village that we have for our children, having that for each other in the teaching space is extremely important. So I'm going to use the Lincoln Content Bank to highlight that availability of benefits to ready to use resources. The Lincoln Content Bank, as I've mentioned, is that extensive collection of content and activities. They are designed to minimize preparation time and maximize teaching effectiveness. So I sounded like an infomercial there, but I really mean it. It really is just a few clicks away so that teachers can get content created for them by other teachers at any moment. Derek, I saw the smile in the infomercial. I try really hard not to go there, but sometimes it just happens because I love it so much.
Well, I just want to build on that a little bit,
Yes,
Rachel,
please
in
do.
that the idea of offloading that level of effort that so many teachers put in to plan. Again, I live with a teacher, so I watch the planning happen. I see the sausage getting made every night on the couch. The level of effort that goes into finding resources from different and disparate locations when you don't have a single source of content or truth to go to, it just burns a lot of time. And when a teacher has the ability to go in and go to a single source search location and pull, again, high quality content down from the cloud, not having to go do Google searches and all over the place to find things. It really, the time savings is just enormous and lets them focus on mission and not on the minutia of things that happens around that.
Derek, I had one superintendent recently tell us that it helps them not get lost in the sauce. And I thought that was
Yeah.
really a great way to put it. So their teachers are jumping online, they're Googling, let's be honest, they're chat GPTing. What can I teach for multiplication to make it fun? And it's hours, and they don't even realize the hours that they're putting in to end up in some cases with non-vetted content that they're providing to students. So I
Yeah.
really loved his analogy of getting lost in the sauce, because really we want to focus on the pasta and the meatballs, right? And that's the vetted content that's already been made. So I really appreciate your input there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the last thing that I have to talk about today is the fiscal consideration. So if we want to jump to that next slide. So fiscal considerations mean different things to a lot of folks within the school district. I think our superintendents and school board members think about our fiscal considerations and our needs and our limitations a little bit differently than the teachers do, and for good reason, right? I myself sit on a school board, so I wear a lot of hats. I'm a mom, I was a teacher, I sit in an executive role here, I'm on a school board. So I see a lot of the different conversations that go around the fiscal investments that we put into our students. Something that I can say about the implementation of a digital high quality tool for schools is that you make a long-term investment. It's something that is able to instantly update, right? So we are coming up on a few elections here, and the Lincoln Learning Solutions content and all of the material in the Lincoln Content Bank will be updated in real time. We'll have, you won't have to get reprints or inserts for textbooks. So I think it can go against the test of time, right? I always like to go back because it happened when I was teaching. They made they changed that Pluto was no longer a planet. And I know every textbook the students looked in, Pluto was a planet. So it's really, I think it's impressive to be able to have that real-time update for students right in the content without making another investment. So that initial investment on digital infrastructure versus the reoccurring costs of purchasing print materials, I mean, you're talking shipping, storage, replacement, repair, all of those things become more obvious, right? We want to talk about that high quality instructional material being delivered in that digital platform and saving time and money over the years. So it's all in how you spin it and you talk about it. But when you come down to, I think my boss always says brass tacks, right? When you come down to that, it's a more scalable and more available opportunity and more fiscally responsible at the end of the day. And I know textbooks can be used 6, 7, 8 years. Some schools have to stretch it to 10. But with this upfront investment, it really helps to last over those 6, 7, 10 years. And having those real-time updates is, it's priceless for students. So I think that the long-term investment with Lincoln Content Bank or a similar product that you find to be high quality instructional materials, it really is going to provide you with things that match the latest standards and the latest trends. That digital piece is helping to maintain the relevance of curriculum, and it also provides an enhanced engagement opportunity for students. Derek, I don't know how removed you are from fiscal conversations. Did you have anything to add?
I am a very happy arm's length away from the budget season that happens every year, and not living through that anymore. I just wanted to touch on a couple things, not necessarily fiscal so much, but more, well, on the fiscal side a little bit. I talked about it briefly about just offloading the effort that it takes to do certain things around technology away from the district and even away from our partners in some senses, and let them focus on their mission and their goals. Teachers shouldn't be worried about tech support in the classroom. It's a giant time suck. The era of the smart board, I lived through that myself, and they were super cool, but they also caused a lot of how do I do this? How does that work? I had people that roved around my district and trained on that. There's a little bit around I just touch on a little bit of the privacy and the security of how things work as well too. When we start talking about content and things we're delivering to our students, I think that's super important. And you want to go with, ensure that your partners and your cloud providers or their cloud providers are compliant with SIPA and FERPA and HIPAA and all the uhs that are out there, right? That we need to worry about as educators. And then there's a bunch of really cool next gen tech that's coming that everyone is watching. You mentioned generative AI a little bit ago. There's a bunch of things coming for schools and in the content bank that's going to make this even more powerful in the next year. We've got a tool called Q for schools, and Q is going to do so you can verbally search for things now. Again, I talked about our underlying Lex technology that's underneath of Alexa. Well, we're slowly starting to roll out the ability to translate into 23 different languages in real time for things like student mental health hotlines, or even a student who is struggling to get to the content. Well, technology that can help those teachers then translate that content into different languages for the students in near real time, and just again stop the time suck that goes along with having to do that work manually. So I think over time, people don't always look at the cost of human hours, and that's a big element that maybe isn't a line item on the budget, but it certainly comes out of the ability to deliver on mission.
Great points, Derek. I couldn't agree more. I mean, we talk about people resources all the time and how that affects the bottom line.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So folks, I know that we had a lot more time, but I am one not to waste time. I think we had a really strong point to get across, and we were able to do that in shorter amount of time than the webinar was allotted. But James, if there are questions, we would be happy to do those, so we can go on to the next slide.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Derek. It was very, very informative. So I don't currently see any questions, but I have questions maybe for the group. So as I'm asking some of these questions, maybe the group will start to send some in. We usually get it with two to five questions. It just depends on how not shy folks are today. So my biggest thing, if I'm a district and I'm looking into this, and let's say I'm using textbooks, if I'm understanding correctly, what does an onboarding process look like? Like, how does this work? Like, how could I take this information and if it was something that I was excited about and I wanted some type of change and to make things a little bit easier, how does that typically work in your guys' experience?
Absolutely. So Lincoln Learning Solutions has a phenomenal implementation and onboarding process. We have a client success representative, will be a single point of contact for every school that we onboard. In that onboarding opportunity, we have a member from our IT team, a member from the sales team, a member from training. We do a little bit of intake, and within 5 to 7 business days, we're able to have that school up and running, dependent on their learning management system that they're currently using, their SIS. We do integrate with a number of learning management systems. We also are able to integrate with Clever and ClassLink. So those are things that if we want that two-way communication, we bring our IT team in and they are Johnny on the spot, and we're getting things rolling in less than 2 weeks of academic time. So we can onboard very, very efficiently from 50 students to 50,000 plus.
Got it. Perfect.
Yeah, and just like Rachel has the customer success managers for the districts, we have the customer success manager for them at
Yes.
Lincoln Learning to make sure that they are getting all the support they need. The second thing, James, that's really important to understand again about cloud technologies is the scalability and the auto scaling that happens with cloud. So as they're onboarding new customers, they don't have to wait for the guys in the pocket protector shirts in the data center in the basement to build up new servers. They happen automatically in the cloud. So the onboarding can be very, very rapid based on the fact that they don't have to build underlying technology as they're bringing another district online. And then to Rachel's point as well too, Clever, ClassLink, Canvas, Schoology, all built on AWS in the cloud anyway. So those integrations happen seamlessly when they are implementing and onboarding a new customer.
Awesome. We do have a couple questions too. I really appreciate you answering those. So, how would you use the content from the product in the classroom, and how do teachers and students interact with the product?
Great question. That's fantastic. So, a lot of different ways. As a classroom teacher, you are able to offer it in full class, large group, on a smartboard, on a Promethean, via any kind of projection tool. And then you can also utilize it in small groups for homework. How it is interacted with, it is through a learning management system. So we do not have a proprietary learning management system. With the help of AWS and our amazing IT team here at Lincoln Learning Solutions, we are agnostic and able to use, and I'm going to use letters, Derek, that you might laugh, APIs and LTIs to integrate and to connect to every school's learning management system. If a school does not have their own learning management system, we have a great relationship with Instructure, who is the company over Canvas, and a great partnership with Schoology and Agilix with the Buzz Learning Management System. So we're able to help them find a learning management system that they would be able to utilize. So you go into the learning management system, you are able to search different topics and then assign them to the whole class, individual students for homework, the whole class, and they all reside right there in that learning management system. So it really is a great way for differentiated instruction across the board. And I love that topic and could talk about it for days. So I'll stop there, but if there's an additional question or I didn't clearly answer that, please let me know.
No, I believe you did. Do you offer a trial period for school or teachers to determine the effectiveness of the tool?
Happily, we sure do. We do a 3-month trial account that it can go right into the school's learning management system. That's what we prefer, so that they can engage and work with it in their environment. Again, if they don't have an environment, we can spin one up from something that we have here to give them the opportunity to utilize that.
Okay, perfect. And can you both talk about how important it is going to be to have partners to lean on Lincoln and AWS as the tidal wave of AI slams the education world.
Eric, do you want to start with that one? I will.
Yeah, sure. I can jump on that one. So AI is near and dear to my heart. I live it, breathe it, eat it every single day. You'll see that our approach to AI is a little bit different, and Amazon's been doing AI forever. I don't want to quote an exact number of years, but 15, 17, 18 years we've been doing AI under the hood of everything you do with Amazon.com, and again with our partners. But specifically in the K-12 environment, we've taken a couple of really strategic steps towards AI. We don't believe that you should be taking district or student data and uploading it into an open source AI just in the cloud. And I won't call anybody out, but the free ones that you can go use out in the cloud, that's not the place for your student data. Amazon has built specifically enterprise class private AI that runs either with our customers or with our partners. So when you start to use and interact with, like we have a tool called Bedrock or Amazon Q that I mentioned earlier, when you're working with these tools, they are staying within the customer's environment. So the customer has a private cloud, their data lives in the private cloud. It does not get loaded up into the greater internet. And we never, ever, ever use customer data to train our AI models. And that's a big distinction between how we do AI and how a lot of other people do AI. So leaning on partners is super important for that. The second big step that we've taken, and you'll see more of this coming out in the coming months. As a matter of fact, AASA is in San Diego next week, and we'll be there announcing this along with the Council of Great City Schools and COSIN, the Consortium of School Networks. We pulled 8 CIOs together from around the country last year and wrote an AI readiness checklist that COSIN and the council has now published on their websites. Feel free to go look at them. They're out there. They're public. They're agnostic. They're not like, oh, you have to build on AWS. We want you to do that, but they're totally checklists. That checklist will then become a maturity model so that you can rate yourself on how mature you are as you're ready for the AI, the tidal wave that is coming into the educational market. So a lot of words, I'm sorry, but it's a huge topic that really needs to be followed closely, but is going to provide an enormous amount of power and a force multiplier to our education community.
Derek, that was perfect. I only have a small piece to add from the curriculum development ed tech side of things. So much like you said, our head of security at Lincoln Learning Solutions very much talks about the staying away from the open source, right? AI. And we have taken a very strategic approach to it. We do believe that we're only as smart as the partners that we have around us. I say it as a leader all the time. I'm only as smart as the team that I employ. And with AWS and another specific AI partner, we're taking a very slow and strategic approach. I do think that we're going to see a lot of, I'm trying to look for the words and not use slang. A lot of products or services that are going to come and go in the next 2 years. They're not going to have that longevity because they're jumping into AI with more than both feet. They're just diving right in. And I think that slow and strategic plan and selecting the right partners as we grow is going to do Lincoln well as we move forward.
So just as a point of clarification, is the content bank in addition to the LMS, or is it something that can be used in my current LMS to plug into my classes?
Yep. We don't want to give anyone one more thing to log into. So it will be included in that LMS that the schools are already using for the most part. If it's a homegrown school LMS, we'd have to have a consultation with our IT team. But as long as it's LTI 1.3, and I'm saying that with a question mark, but I believe I am correct, LTI 1.3, we will be able to integrate with it.
Perfect. And then I have one last question, unless somebody else on the chat decides to ask another question. It's kind of a comment and a question. So I've used the Lincoln Content Bank. It can literally replace the need for textbooks. Am I wrong here? And what an incredible cost savings. So it's kind of a compliment and a question together.
Well, thank you very much. Whomever put that in, you are 1000% correct. We actually have a ditch the textbooks campaign that we have been running because we believe that through all of the a read it is going to be like that page on a textbook, right? It's a read it. It has text help embedded so it can read to the student, has the screen reader. We do have our VPAT for accessibility. So that's extremely important to us, reaching all audiences of all levels. And then we go into our watch it's a video that is also at that objective level, games, all of those things. So 1000% it can replace the need for textbooks over the years. And I do believe that fiscally responsible decision to cut back on costs throughout the years and the longevity of the product. So you are 100% correct, and I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
Awesome. I believe that concludes our questions. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, and thank you for our presenters as well. CSBA is dedicated to providing up-to-date resources to school board members. To view our recent webinars, be sure to check out our YouTube page at youtube.com/CSBA video. If you are interested in attending future CSBA webinars, please go to our website at www.csba.org/webinars to register for upcoming webinars. Many thanks to our presenters. Thank you guys. And with that, thank you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.